A very good morning to all the students of class 6. My name is Prerna and I'm your English teacher. And today, from your English book Skyline, we are going to be reading chapter number 3. So, let us start reading this chapter. As I told you that this is chapter number 3 and the name of the chapter is A Girl with a Basket. So let us read the introduction of this chapter to find out what is this chapter all about. The lesson A Girl with a Basket is written by W.C. Douglas. During his visit to India, the writer traveled from New Delhi to Bareilly by train. In this lesson, he describes his journey and experiences during this visit. To know about this experience of journey, let us read the lesson. So, this chapter, as the introduction states, is written by W.C. Douglas and he's talking about his journey in India. All right, so let us start reading this chapter. I had left New Delhi for the Himalayas. I was going as far as Bareilly by train and then by car to Ranikhet, an old British Army hill station located on a 6,000 foot ridge opposite a 120-mile stretch of snow capped Himalayas. The train was slow and it stopped at all the way stations. At every stop, I swung open the door of my compartment and walked the platform. So, in the first paragraph, the author W.C. Douglas is telling that I was, traveling to Bareilly and then I had to go to Rani Khet. And then he says that Rani Khet is a hill station located on a 6,000 uh, on a 6,000 foot ridge, that is a long narrow chain of Himalayas, and the stretch or the extent is 120 miles of snow capped Himalayas. Snow capped means covered with snow. And what happened that at every stop or every station, what did the author do? He would pull the door of his compartment and he would go to the platform. The platforms were packed with people: Sikhs, Muslims, Hindus, soldiers, merchants, priests, porters, beggars, and hawkers. Almost everyone was barefoot and dressed in loose white garments. I would ask at least three people before I could find one who spoke English. We would talk world affairs and every major topic the news of the day produced. So now the author is saying that at every station that I got down at, every platform, I could see a large group of people. The entire station was jam packed with people from different religions and from different occupations, and he's saying that almost everyone was barefoot. That means almost every person was without a pair of shoes or without a pair of slippers, and they were dressed in loose white garments. And then the author is also saying that it was a little difficult for me to find someone who spoke in English. In this way, I was trying to get the feel of the pulse of the nation, checking opinion against official attitude and reports. So now, W.C. Douglas, he wanted to. He was trying to approach someone who could talk in English, because he wanted to know the pulse of the nation. Pulse of the nation means that what was the opinion, what was the thought, what were the feelings of the people about the attitude of British officials, about the reports that the British officers were releasing. So he wanted to know what was going in the mind of the people. The route lay through one of the richest India's agricultural areas. Route means the entire journey. This was the plain of the upper Ganga River, 1,000 feet above sea level, but tropical. Tropical means hot climate. The Ganga was brown silt. That means there was a lot of mud near the river Ganga, and uh, was brown silt swollen with flood waters, means filled with, overflowing. Its overflow inundating thousands of acres of rice. So one could see that the entire area had the crop in the entire area was rice. To the north were jungles, great expanses of grass higher than a man's head and unbroken except for an occasional clump of trees, the home of tigers, elephants, pythons, and cobras. So again, the author is continuously describing the scenery or the landscape that he was seeing. Expanses means the open areas, and clump, it is the it actually refers to the cluster of trees. And he's saying cluster of trees, now clump of trees, cluster of trees, he's referring to the forest, and that's why he's talking about these animals. Everywhere else there was flat land running to the horizon, but dotted here, dotted means the there were patches of, there were the sacred banyan tree or by rows of pucker trees shaped like elms. Elms is a sort of tree only, and having thick twisted trunks. Hot humid air was moving in from southwest. Monkeys, some of them mothers with babies clinging to them and riding underneath, swung off trees at the stations, looked for food. So swung off means jumping. So the monkeys, they were jumping from trees because they were looking for food. The villages we passed had walls made of mud mixed with water and cow dung. Their peaked roofs were thatched. Thatched means covered with thatch. And what is thatch exactly? It refers to the dry grass, which we also call as straw, and then there are palm leaves. Bundles of grass tied to bamboo poles stretch across the rafters. What is the meaning of the word rafters? Rafters is basically it's a framework of beams, and it's in a trailing manner, and these are generally made of different colors. That day the pumpkin vines that grew older them that grew over them were in bloom. Bloom means growing to the full extent, trailing streets of yellow over drab walls. At one station, sorry, what is the meaning of the word drab? Means dull. At one station, my routine of talking with the people was interrupted. So, when I was talking to people, someone disturbed me. As soon as I alighted, a group of young children gathered around me. They were selling baskets, hand woven reed baskets with simple designs and patterns. Reed is referring to a type of stem. They held the baskets high, shouting words I did not know, but conveying unmistakably their desires. So now the writer is saying, the author is saying that, while I was on one of the stations, I suddenly, while I was talking to someone, a group of children, they just interrupted my conversation. And why did these group of children interrupted the conversation? Because they wanted to sell the different types of baskets that they were holding. And the author is saying that I did not really understand the words that they were saying, because most likely they were talking in Hindi, but the author hardly knew Hindi and he was more proficient in English. So he's saying that, but I could understand their desire. And what was the desire of these of this group of children? To sell their baskets and earn some money. These were refugee children. When partition between India and Pakistan was decreed, hundreds of thousands of people pulled up their roots and changed their residence. So, what is the meaning of the word decreed? It means when something is actually ordered, or when something is announced. So when the when the partition was announced, there were a lot of people who were pulled up their roots. Means the the place there where they actually belonged, they had to shift from that particular place. 9 million people left Pakistan and came to India, driven by the fear of religious fantasism. What is the meaning of the word fantasism? The meaning of the word fantasism is madness. That how, on the name of religion, people became completely mad. People lost their senses and they started killing each other. They were poor people to start with. They were poorer as they began their long trek. For all they could carry was a bit of food and a few belongings. So now the author is describing the condition of the people who suffered during the partition, that how these group of people, they could only carry some food and their belongings, that is whatever belonged to them. Soon they were out of food. A few days after they started, they began to fall by the wayside from the weakness of hunger and died where they fell. So while these people were walking to reach either India or Pakistan, out of hunger, most of them died. The children selling baskets were sons and daughters of these refugees. They or their parents or relatives had gathered in the cities, setting up stalls, manufacturing simple articles, trying to make a living in markets already overcrowded. So, the author is saying that how these refugees actually were trying to earn money even by doing petty jobs. They lived in cloth and grass sheds that lined the streets. Line means, like, in one complete line. The peasants among these refugees had been accustomed to little all their lives. Accustomed means used to. For the annual income of an agricultural family does not on the average exceed $100 a year. That means hardly 7,000 or 6,000 rupees. The average unskilled laborers make 30 cents a day or less than $2 a week. There is one meal a day: an onion, a piece of bread, a bowl of pulse with milk. Pulses is referring to perhaps a bit of goat cheese. No tea, no coffee, no fat, no sweets, no meat. So he's saying that these people are so poor that they can only afford one meal in the entire day, which is not very, health. I mean, which is not full of all the nutrients required. Neither it is very, complete in its sense. It still lacks a lot of things. $100 a year is not $2 a week. Yet even that small amount is hard to earn by selling baskets to people too poor to buy them. That no doubt is the reason these children descended on me like locusts. Locust is, it's an insect which, if it sits on the crop, it destroys the crop completely. So the author is saying that, how these little children, the moment they saw a foreigner, they had this mindset that, oh, this person is going to be extremely rich, so let us sell our baskets to him. At least we'll be able to earn some money, because the people of our country, the native people of the country, do not have enough money to buy the baskets that we make. I, an American, was doubtless the most promising market they had seen. I bought one tiny basket for a few annas, another fruit basket for a bit more, a beautiful waste paper basket for a rupee, a lovely sewing basket for a rupee, few fans for an anna or two a piece. So understand one thing, that this author is talking about, the time just after partition, when a rupee or 1 rupee meant a lot. My arms were filled and I had spent not 50 cents. So now the author is saying that I had bought a lot, many things, and my hands were completely full. The children pressed in shouting their wares. So now the author, he's talking about the fact that how my hands were completely full and these children wanted to sell me more items. I was a prisoner, completely surrounded, unable to move. This is how the author felt. The most diligent, aggressive vendor was a beautiful girl of 9 right in front of me. What is the meaning of the word diligent? It means hard working, and aggressive means pushing, and vendor of course is one who sells. So now the author is saying, but there was one girl who was whose age was only 9 years, but she seemed extremely hardworking and very assertive, very aggressive of making an effort to sell her basket. She has a lonely basket with handle, and she wanted a rupee and a half for it, or about 30 cents. She was an earnest pleader. There were tears in her eyes. She pleaded and begged in tones that would wring any heart. So, the manner in which this girl pleaded me to buy the basket, the author is saying that anyone would pity on that girl, anyone's heart would melt. My arms were full. So, like in the previous lines, also the author has said that he had bought so many baskets and so many other articles that now his hands were completely full. I had no room, means I did not have that space to pick up anything now, let alone any need for another basket. So the author is saying that the question was not about I whether I need that basket or not, but I did not have space in my hands, to hold any other basket. Balancing my baskets and fans on my left arm, I reached into my right coat pocket and got a handful of change, perhaps 15 cents in all, which I deposited in the basket that the young girl imploringly before me. I tried to explain that I could not buy the basket, but extended the gratuity as a substitute. So now what did the author do? He, because he did not have any, he could not hold any more baskets, his hands were completely full. So what did he do? He took out 15 cents from his pocket and he put in the one of the baskets that the girl was holding. So he wanted to say thank you to the girl, that thank you for your offer, but I don't need this basket. So what happened next? I realized at once what offense I had given. So the moment author put those 15 cents in that girl's basket, he suddenly realized that he had offended that 9-year-old girl. He had hurt, emotionally hurt that 9-year-old girl. This child of 9, dressed in rags, means torn clothes, and on the edge of starvation, raised her chin, reached into the baskets. So this girl now, she looked up, and what did she do? She put her hand into the same baskets in which the author had put in 15 cents, and with all the pride and graciousness of a lady, handed the money back to me. So with a lot of dignity, this girl, she handed the money back to the author. There was only one thing I could do. I bought the basket. She wiped her ears, smiled, and dashed down the platform. So she rushed, uh, you know, to on the platform, headed for some grass hut that would have at least 30 cents that night. So this girl, she went back home happily and with a lot of dignity, because she was able to make some money by selling the basket. I told the story to Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. I told him it was one reason I had fallen in love with India, that even a 9-year-old child had so much of dignity, so much of self respect. The people I saw in India, those in the villages as well as those in high offices, have both pride and a lively sense of decency and citizenship. They also have a passion for independence. So he's saying that the people of India are very decent, they're very well mannered, and they have a strong desire for independence. This beautiful child, born in squalor and poverty, so born in those conditions of hunger and poverty, uneducated in both grammar and manners, had given me a glimpse means a short look of the warm soul of India. Warm soul here refers to some soul full of self-respect and pride. Glimpse, as I told you, a brief review. And squalor is the dirty conditions, in those undesirable conditions. This 9-year-old child had told the author that the people of India are extremely decent and have a lot of self-respect, and they're very dignified. So I hope all of you enjoy reading this chapter. Thank you so much.